Good afternoon, everyone. Just continue eating. We're going to continue on with our program for the day and our speaker. We have Mr. Tim Temple, who was elected as Louisiana Commissioner of Insurance in 2023. He has worked in the insurance sector for over 2 decades. And I was just told that maybe one of the first insurance agent or whatever has gotten this position. Mr. Temple is from DeRidder, Louisiana. He and his wife Amy live in Baton Rouge with their 2 daughters. And I introduce you to Mr. Temple.
You got to kind of put it up. Okay, gotcha.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Perfect. All right. Look, thank y'all. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. As you heard, I'm from DeRidder. That's made the news lately, so please don't hold that against me. Some bad things going on there. But, and as you heard, I grew up in this industry. You know, I started off as an insurance agent. I'm going to give you a little bit of my background because I think it's important. I started off as an insurance agent shortly after graduating college. Did an internship in London. I've been a reinsurance broker. I've done disaster claims, disaster management. I've done managed underwriters. My company, my family started and owned an insurance company out of DeRidder, which writes workers' compensation all over the country. We're not involved in ownership of that anymore. But I grew up in this business. And as Roger said, I am, as far as I know, there's only been 7 previous commissioners of insurance, the only one that ever worked in the industry, understanding the industry that they regulate. And that is important because insurance is complex. And it's important that we get it right. We're facing the worst insurance crisis our state has ever seen. Ever. Because today, not only do we have a personal homeowners, personal property crisis in our state, not only do we have a commercial property crisis in our state, we also have personal auto, which we've been dealing with for decades. We've got commercial trucking, which we've been dealing with decades. We have flood, which is a disaster. And as we were just talking about earlier too, healthcare costs continue to climb. So if it's got the word insurance in it and you're buying it, it's some of the highest premiums, the highest rates we've ever seen in our state. You know, and again, like I said, we've got to get it right. Starting with Laura, then Delta, Zeta, Ida, 4 storms, 2 of them Category 4, borderline Category 5. 2 of the strongest storms our state's ever experienced. 800,000 claims in a 12-month and 2-day period. $24 billion paid out. $24 billion. And let's put that in context. The industry collected in that same 12-month period $2 billion. They collected 2, paid out 24. Raise your hand if you can operate your business like that. So it's important, again, that we work with the industry. And a lot of people like to beat up on me saying that, I'm working with the industry. But ladies and gentlemen, the industry does not have to do business here. There is no law that says that an insurance company has to do business, but for Louisiana citizens and Louisiana Work Comp Corporation. But we need to attract capital. We want companies to come back in. And so when I was inaugurated on January 7th, which should have been January 8th, but weather, I don't know if any of you have ever attended a gubernatorial inauguration, but if you haven't, go do one. I mean, there's a lot of ceremony, there's the bands, there's the honor guard, they've got the carpet, the steps of the Capitol, red carpet. It's a lot of energy. The governor gives a great speech, and just a lot of energy and a lot of positive emotions that you feel about your state. And I certainly felt that. And I do believe that our state has got, the best days are yet to come. And I think that phrase gets overused a lot, but it gets overused a lot because it's true. And right now I can tell you that insurance is the biggest hurdle for our state economy to grow and prosper. We all know it. We've got great rivers and lakes and infrastructure. Some of it's a little old, but we still have a great infrastructure. We've got railroads, we've got pipelines that crisscross our state. We've got great workers. We've got all the oil and gas opportunity in the Gulf and in North Louisiana as well. And we're seeing all these other states in the South take off and their economies grow. And people move into their states. And their states grow. And more people and businesses move into their states. And their economies grow. And they don't have nearly what we do. But when I travel and I talk to individuals and I talk to companies, not insurance, just businesses, and they say, Tim, let me tell you, I like your state, but if I move somebody from Houston to Lake Charles, their auto insurance doubles, their homeowners triples, and if I want to build a facility over there, I can't even tell you what the cost is because sometimes it's not even affordable. Same thing happens in North Louisiana with competing with Austin, with Arkansas and North Texas, Mississippi over on our east. So all these other states are growing and prospering and flourishing, and we're just kind of floundering. And we've got a good, great governor who is focused on economic development. He's reorganized LED. They're focused on trying to bring business in, and they're doing their things. They're talking about tax reform, how to businesses and individuals keep more money in their pocket. They're talking about educational reform. How do we make our state more attractive? And then we say, oh, by the way, come on to Louisiana, bring your people, bring your businesses, but let me tell you about insurance. So it's important that we get it right. And so session started. Today is 210 days on the job for me. I think we were in session 101 days. And we dealt with a lot of insurance reform. And if any of you were paying attention, you heard that, that there was this insurance package. And we had a package. And it was not Tim Temple's package. It was a collective group, legislators, stakeholders, whether it was the legal industry, consumer advocates, insurance professionals, claims adjusters, business owners. We had everybody at the table before the session started. And we sat down and we collectively agreed what the problems were. And for the most part, we agreed to what the solutions could be. And I'm talking about property right now. And so when we started the session, we had our legislators lined up, the author of the bills, the governor was behind us, and we got substantial property reform done. We got a lot done. And I'll tell you, I just came back from London, and they're saying in their comments, you're restoring confidence back in the market. And that's what we want. We want companies willing and wanting to do business in the state of Louisiana. And from a property standpoint, we're getting there. We now have, I just had a conversation today with the third company that has an application filed with the department to come and write property, homeowners business in our state. Now, 3 is not victory and, we'll go on and do something else. But it is a substantial start, especially considering that most of those laws didn't even become effective until August 1st, just a few days ago. So we're on the right path. We're doing what needs to be done. And I was talking to a gentleman earlier, and we were talking about, this is a plan. It's not hope. And when I'd go testify, I'd get these legislators to say, well, Tim, that sounds like, I sure hope this works. And I told them, I said, I'm not interested in hope. We're laying out a plan. This is a path. It's not a wish. It's not a dream. These are things that we know that are going to work. We look at other states. This is not experimental legislation that we're proposing. These are things that we see work in other states. And I ask those legislators to get behind these bills and vote on it because it will make a difference. And I think the most shining example is our neighbor to the east, Florida. They had a crisis with one hurricane. We had 4. They had 1. Ian happened in 2021. Their homeowners market collapsed. They had 3 special sessions to deal with their crisis. And they enacted some substantial change. And they are now seeing the fruits of that. I was just in Florida meeting with the Commissioner of Insurance over in Florida, and he had, as a matter of fact, I may have my notes here, he had a list. He had over 30 companies that are currently taking either a rate decrease or a flat, no increase, directly attributed to the reform that they did. And that's one of the things I hear all the time. Okay, Tim, we did this. We passed this legislation. When are we going to see the results? When are we going to see rates go down? Well, you know, we didn't get here overnight, and change doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. But 2 years ago, Florida enacted some serious reform. They're now seeing the fruits of that labor. I think Louisiana can and should expect the same thing. We've set the conditions so that insurance companies want to come back and do business in the state, and we'll see that. And when you get more than one, and I know I'm not going to call you out, but we were talking about the one quote they got from Louisiana citizens. When you're only getting one quote, that's not competition. You're not getting the best pricing. So when you get more companies that want to come in, when you have 3, 5, 10, that's when you'll start seeing that downward pressure on premiums, and that's when you'll see that affordability start to come back, and people talk about affordability in Louisiana again. So that's our plan. That is the plan that we've enacted. It's the one we're going to stick to. It's the one I'm going to continue to push and promote. We're not going to deviate from it because it works. And every day at the department, I work with 221 other men and women there, and I can tell you they are devoted to making insurance work in our state. They understand how important it is. You got to have it. You know, you can't operate a business, you can't drive a car, and you can't own a mortgage without insurance. So we got to make sure that we're doing what we can to make it work, and we certainly are. Look, I'll tell you that property, we got some reform done. On the other side of it, the casualty side, the auto side, I think it's referred to as tort reform. I still don't like that word. You know, I don't know what tort is. I think it's a dessert. You know, but tort reform, let's don't use that. Legal reform. We need legal reform in our state. And I tell you, the power of status quo is strong at the Capitol. There's a lot of people think that just don't touch anything, just leave it the way it is, and it's going to be okay. But it's how we got to where we are today, by not continuing to improve our legal system, not continuing to improve our regulatory environment. And I pledge to you, we're going to fight and fight and fight until we rebalance it. Not trying to put anybody out of business, but we've got to make it so that you, the consumer, get to keep more dollars in your pocket and not send it to an insurance company or not send it to an attorney. That's not the way the system's set up. So we got to rebalance that, and that's what we're doing. We're fighting on that. We had some again, a package of bills that were designed to fight that. We got some of those through. We had one of them which is a key component that the governor vetoed, and I haven't had a chance to talk to the governor about why he did, but I certainly look forward to that opportunity so I can understand what his concerns are with that bill, and we can go back and try and work on it going forward to bring the relief that you need so that insurance companies can be competitive again and want to write more autos, whether it's your personal or your commercial. So I'm committed to stay on that path. I'm committed every day to fight for change. Because I can't look at anyone in this room and say, you deserve to pay the highest auto rates in this state. Yes, our roads aren't as good as some other states. But guess what? We don't have that many more accidents compared to the national average. We have some, but it's not like a huge, overburden of that. But what we do have in Louisiana is when we do get in a wreck, guess what? We're twice as likely to have a bodily injury claim. I don't know what drives that. I really don't. I can't look at you and tell you that people in Louisiana are softer and that we get injured easier, because I don't believe that. I don't know what drives that. But it's just a fact. We have twice as many bodily injuries claims. We got to look into that. We also have 2.5 times likely to litigate when we do have a bodily injury claim. I think everybody's got an opinion on what causes that, but we need to look at it. It can't be anecdotal. We need real hard numbers. And I'll tell you right now, the legislature, what month are we in? August? Okay. Last month, July, they had their first meeting. It was a joint committee meeting. House Insurance, Senate Insurance, House Civil Law, and Senate Judiciary A. 4 committees, 1 room, 52 members. It's the first time that I know that's ever been done. Adam, is that correct? And Adam's with my department in the back. He's my fact checker. First time it's been done in the legislative history. 4 committees meeting all in 1 room. And there's a little bit of herding cats a little bit. You got 4 chairmen sitting up there, right? But they've started the process of talking about what needs to be done from a legal reform standpoint. They're meeting again what's today, Monday, Tuesday? This Wednesday, this Wednesday. They're meeting again. They're going to break it out in some different breakout sessions, some smaller committees, but we're going to have some more meetings to start talking about what are those cost drivers? What truly makes it so that you pay the highest auto rates in the country? We need to have serious conversations and get to what those drivers are. Because like I said, I don't think it's because a Ford F-150 costs more to repair in Morgan City than it does in Beaumont, Texas. I don't think it's because, fixing a broken arm in Louisiana costs more than fixing one in Mississippi. I don't believe that. But we got to get down to what those drivers are. What is driving the cost? Because we collectively, we're paying for whatever those cost drivers are through insurance, increased insurance premiums. And so I'm committed to trying to shed as much transparency as we can on that, because we need to know. And then once we know, if everybody's happy with what that is, then let's go on. Let's just keep doing it. If you're happy paying twice as much for whatever, that's your choice. But let's know. Let's at least acknowledge what's driving that. And so we're going to continue those hearings. We've got one, I said, this Wednesday. There'll be another one in September, another one in October, and I believe they scheduled one for November, December. I know we've got one over the next 2 months. So we're going to continue to look at that and have conversations about it and find out why we are where we are in the state. With that, like I said, this is important. I understand how insurance is holding back our economy, our growth. I speak to our Secretary of LED. I speak to all the statewide about how insurance plays a role. I mean, that hadn't been done in a long, long time either. We're all working together. We're going to pull together so that, again, at the end of the day, it's not a cliche. It's you keeping more of your money in your pocket, because you are a better steward of it. You know where it needs to go, whether it's your family budget or your businesses. You need to deploy that money, not put it in the hands of the insurance companies and all the other folks that are associated with that. So I think you got me for a while. I'm happy to answer questions. I typically get a lot. So with that, if you've got, I can pass the mic around, or you can stand up, whatever you want to do. Look, we've already got our first taker.
Okay, you're making a great political speech. You're working on it. We're going to do something, and all that sounds good. But you mentioned that, was it Florida that had made some changes in legislation at work?
Yes, sir.
What were those changes, and is these committees, our committees, working on similar changes? And you mentioned it was only property insurance. Did that include property insurance, include wind and hail?
Yes. Okay. So the laws that are the bills that Florida enacted over the last 3 years, some of those Louisiana was actually ahead of the curve. There was an assignment of benefits bill that Louisiana had enacted the year before. So Florida did that. They changed their fair claims bill. They took away, I want to say it was loser pay, they enacted loser pays, so that if you bring litigation, whoever you're litigating against, you lose, you pay. That was a big driver. They've got public adjuster law over there. They've done a lot of things that we enacted this session that needed to be done, and that's why I'm saying it's not experimental. We didn't do anything that we just said, oh, let's just see. It hasn't been tried before. So that's what I say that they enacted, and they're now seeing the fruits of that, and that's why I think that I can stand up here in front of you and say I believe the same thing is going to happen, because it's based on a plan, a strategy, not just a wish.
And that reduces claims and all that, but does that bring more insurance companies into the state?
I just said I've got 3 companies that have just filed applications with the department that do not do business in Louisiana today, and every one, those 3 all told me to my face, we're doing this because of the reform that was enacted. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about what was passed and then the governor vetoed as far as tort reform, whatever it was?
Yes, so the question is, what was the bill that was passed by the legislature and vetoed by the governor? And it was a House Bill 423 by Representative Mike Mellerain from Shreveport, Bossier area. It was collateral source. It was a collateral source bill. And what that's trying to address is in Louisiana, look, insurance is a product where you're made whole. You know, I like to say, if your Ford gets wrecked, you're supposed to get another Ford, not a Ferrari. Well, in Louisiana, because of the collateral source and the way it is, you get to collect a Ferrari a lot of times. And this is what I mean by that. You go to a doctor. You're involved in a car wreck, not your fault. You go to a doctor. They treat you. You hire an attorney. Your attorney sues the insurance company. And your medical treatment was $10,000. That's what they billed. They billed your health care provider $10,000. But your health care provider has negotiated rates. And so that $10,000 bill is actually $5,000 paid to whoever treated you. That's what they're happy to take that because they negotiated that. Well, your attorney gets to litigate for the $10,000 as if somebody was out the $10,000. So we're not paying 5, we're paying 10. And that's one of. It's not the only driver. I don't want to stand here in front of you and make you think that that's the silver bullet, because there is no silver bullet. But it was one of the components of several bills. And that's just it. Like I said, this was a plan. This is not one bill solves everything. We need lots of pieces to fall into place in order to get companies wanting to come back and be profitable. Because look, you want your company, again, volunteer, raise your hand if you want your company to lose money. Nobody does. Insurance companies included. We want insurance companies to make a profit so they can pay claims. That's the business they're in. And if they aren't making money, they go insolvent. Remember, after Laura, Delta, Zeta, Nada, we had 12 companies go insolvent. I think it was somewhere around 50,000 insureds. Maybe some of you in this room. Your insurance company went insolvent and you had a claim. They weren't there to pay it. They didn't have the money. So you're now with LIGA. And that takes even longer to get paid. So you want companies to be profitable, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to address that. But the collateral source was the one. Like I said, it was vetoed. We're going to continue to work with all the stakeholders to figure out what we need to do to make that work for the industry, but also work for the medical industry and the legal side. There's a path there because, again, I can't tell you that you need to pay the highest rates in Louisiana. So other states are doing it right, and we're going to continue to push.
So what was the governor's justification for
His veto message said that it was consumer protection. And it was a long message, and I can't read it to you because I don't have it in front of me, but it was a long message on how that was consumer protection. We just differ. Like I said, I think that there's a path forward there. And like I said, I know, look, I'm aligned with the governor on about 95% of things. This one we're a little different on. But at the end of the day, we both want the same thing, affordable insurance for people. Yes, sir. How much was...
How much of this was caused by reinsurance failure? The company's not paying.
So how much was caused by reinsurance failure? None of the reinsurance companies fell. None of the reinsurance companies went insolvent. From the property standpoint, the reinsurance companies model, but when their models are wrong, you don't suffer, they suffer. They just end up paying more in claims than they modeled for. Reinsurance costs are definitely a driver of, and again, we heard with Louisiana Citizens, I think it was last year, they took a 63% rate increase because of reinsurance costs. Like I said, when I was over last week or the week before in London, and we were going over the bills that we had passed, their response was very favorable. I mean, again, they're wanting to support businesses doing business, property business in Louisiana. So that's part of the condition. We compete, Louisiana competes for reinsurance capacity against all the other states in America. So we got to make sure that our regulations and our legislation are as competitive as possible.
Well, Katrina, that was where it all started. Have you ever thought about talking to the federal government about putting together a backup plan where states have an opportunity to join, be it here or be it California with the wildfires or all those kinds of things, a super fund for where all this happens. Because if you think about it, we went through 20 years of not having rough storms. And then in the last few years, we've had rough storms, and that knocked the hell out of us.
Yeah, so the question is, if I can summarize, do I think that there's a federal response, a program that the feds could get behind and support? And I'll say this a little tongue-in-cheek and certainly not disrespectful, like FEMA, like flood. I mean, that's a disaster. That's a federal program. And the Fed stepped in and created a flood program when the private flood markets said, we don't want to do this anymore. So I don't think that that's a solution. You know, and I saw the article this morning, an editorial, make everybody pay into a national a national catastrophe program and create a federal reinsurance program for disasters. I don't see that as a long-term solution. Look, in state, so create a regional. And I can tell you, the only way I could see that working if all the states had the same identical laws, so that you weren't going to get litigated against more in one state versus another state, because then you end up paying for the inefficiencies of that state. If it's real easy to file litigation in Texas and it's not in Mississippi, you don't want to be in part of that system. I mean, if you're in Mississippi, why do you want to help support losses in Texas? So if the laws were the same, possibly. No, you do know before it happens. I mean, you know what the laws are. Right, but I'm saying the laws aren't the same to begin with. So you're going to have adverse selection. I don't see that as a solution. Anyone else?
When's the flood insurance program going to be fixed? I mean, I know that's the same thing, but this is crazy. We've got the best, levee systems in the state in St. Mary Parish. We're not getting any credit for it.
Yeah, look, and you're not getting credit for that. And, that's one of the things that I've been talking with some of the reinsurance markets, some of the underwriters in London and Bermuda about coming down here and seeing what you've done. Because I'm a believer that if you can see it, feel it, touch it, it's real. And I know that there's, the battle about getting the levee certified, but I think the reinsurance markets are still willing to do that, to give you some credit, but we need to get them down here, and that's part of my mission as the commissioner, is to get them down here to see that. The flood program, they can't even authorize it beyond just another 12 months. They just keep kicking that can down the road, and I don't see them changing that anytime soon. I think y'all said y'all got Senator Kennedy coming next month, perhaps. I know he and Senator Cassidy and our entire congressional delegation has done just, tireless work to try and get that thing fixed. And look, it's frustrating. I get it. I don't like it. It's not working the way it's supposed to. It's like anything. If you can't afford it, then what good is the product? And they've got to fix that. But, our delegation is as strong as anybody. If any state can get it done, it's Louisiana.
I just didn't know if there was being help through that litigation.
Yeah, I met with one of the parish presidents last week that's part of that, and he was kind of updating me, but it just sounds like they're just, that FEMA's just kind of stirring the pot on that. They're not really moving forward. They're not giving them the information they've asked for. They're stonewalling. They're not, they're being big government, which is frustrating. That's our government, and they're not helping us. So I'm just as frustrated as anybody on that. But from the private flood standpoint, like I said, I want to bring folks down from the reinsurance world to let them see what y'all have done here, because it's important. It works. Y'all have proven it works. I think, yes, sir.
You mentioned Florida passed
The loser pays. What's the status of loser pay here?
We don't have loser pay. And look, I'm not an attorney, and I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so I can't even begin to try and explain that, because I'm sure I would butcher it. But that is something that we're looking at. Like I said, we're trying to look at other states and say, what have they done that works? What have other states done to lower costs? And again, I'll tell you from a regulatory standpoint, within the department, we're doing things to make sure that we're a state, a regulatory environment that companies say, we like doing business with you. We still hold them accountable, but there's good ways to do it and bad ways to do it. And so from that standpoint, we're doing what we can, but we're looking at other states, and we'll continue to have conversations. I've got a Louisiana Department of Insurance conference that starts tomorrow in Baton Rouge. I've got 5 commissioners from other states coming in, and we're doing a second day, I think, we're doing a panel, and we're going to be talking about things that other states have done that we can look at. I believe in, don't reinvent the wheel. If it works somewhere else and we can enact it here, let's do it. All right, well, if no other questions, listen, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I'll volunteer to come back as frequently as you want to give you an update on where we are and where we're going. Because like I said, I understand this is important. It is the single biggest issue in the state. I go everywhere around this state. I don't hear about crime. I don't hear about education. I don't hear about roads. I just hear about I can't afford my insurance. And so, we're working tirelessly to make sure that we're going to get back on a path where you think that your insurance is available, affordable, and accountable. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Temple, for the informative presentation that you gave us, and that was a courageous act to say you'll come back anytime. So, thank you very, very much. Coming up on August 15th, we do have Senator John Kennedy, U.S. Senator for Louisiana, coming on the 15th at noon. We appreciate it if you would come out and listen to what he's got to say and join in, and if you would RSVP to me as soon as you can, or if you have guests that you would like to invite, feel free to do so, but please keep me up to date on any numbers. I'd appreciate it on that. Again, that's next, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, the 15th. It should be very good. And then in September, on September 9th, we have the guest speakers from Oshner's coming to give us an update on what they've got going on. So that's all we have. You have a safe trip going back to Baton Rouge, and everybody else, wherever they're going. Thank you very much.